Hello and welcome to Europe and You, the programme with UK stories from the European Parliament. Coming up this time.
Could Staffordshire pottery and Harris tweed become EU-protected brands? Meeting the new faces, your new MEPs. And in the studio, what lies ahead for the new European Parliament? We hear from the three biggest UK political parties. The new flag has been raised, the new European Parliament is now in office. Following May's election, all the new MEPs and those returning have taken up their seats in Brussels and Strasbourg. So what do some of the newbies think so far?
It's massive, it's trebled, since I first came here many years ago, so it is huge. It's, what can I say, it's a little overwhelming in the sheer size of it.
Well, I spent 7 years here working for the Scottish Parliament in Brussels, and the first thing I've discovered here is a lot is going on. It's clearly a place where business is done. Now, things are just beginning to build up to that. Most people are just trying to find their feet, but the important thing for me is to hit the ground running. I've got to make sure that I start delivering for Scotland right away.
I want to be an MEP that comes here to actually immerse myself and find out what really is happening here.
At its simplest, what I want to be able to do after 5 years is point to workplaces and say, I helped to bring those jobs into this region.
So what lies ahead? Joining me are three MEPs, each convinced that their party represents what's best for Britain. Timothy Kirkhope for the Conservatives, Labour's Afzal Khan, and for the UK Independence Party, Jim Carver. Thanks very much to all three of you for joining me. First to you, Jim Carver. A big success for UKIP in these elections. We'll look ahead shortly, but just looking briefly at these, back to the elections. Was the UKIP vote all about a protest against these other main parties?
The UKIP vote really was about the positive message that my party was carrying forward throughout the campaign. We were saying there is a better future for Britain outside of the European Union, and we feel that after 41 years this model is increasingly failing. And we're about pride and positivity, and we're saying let's look to the future, let's look for a global future for Britain, let's re-engage our links with the Commonwealth, but let's look further than that, let's re-engage and take our business opportunities far further with the emerging markets. And that was quite a positive message, and the support we were getting on the ground with 4.5 million people voting for us shows that people are ready for something completely different. Timothy Kirkhope, ready for something completely different. Are you going to listen to the fact that UKIP now has 24 seats, 24 MEPs here in Europe from the UK?
I was just thinking of Monty Python there, where I heard now for something completely different, and that was a little bit my feeling about UKIP. But I have to say that we have taken notice, and I don't treat UKIP in a disdainful or critical way in that sense. We've taken notice of some of the issues that came out of that campaign. Some of them were highlighted by UKIP, some of them highlighted by ourselves, particularly the need for a reform agenda for Europe. But I think that's where we and UKIP would then separate our ways, because our belief is that we can achieve a reform and retain our position in Europe, whereas I think UKIP, they can answer for themselves, think there is no possibility whatsoever of doing that, and I think that's wrong.
OK, Afzal Khan, as a pro-EU party, how are you going to fight back against this UKIP, this swing to UKIP, and swing to the Eurosceptics more generally?
Well, look, first of all, I think as a Labour Party, I believe we did well. More than a 50% increase. We had 13 before. We now got 20 MEPs. Clearly, there's a message out there as well, and I think that's got to be seen in the whole context with what's happening. I think this whole austerity measures that have been going on, people have been basically feeling this, and there's some reaction to that, and they basically want us to sort that out. And that's the key issue for me. As far as UKIP's concerned, yes, they have done well, and we have to acknowledge that. But the key point is they have no solutions.
But have
they
you
can
got to
make all
do
the
more?
right noises, but they don't have any solutions.
Okay, and we'll ask Jim Carver in a minute what he plans to do with this 5 years that the electorate have now given him. But, you know, what are you planning to do? How do you react to this vote from the electorate? Are you going to be doing something different, doing something with what they appear to be saying, which is supporting more of the Eurosceptic parties?
Yeah. I think what we need to do is, first of all, when we're in the European Parliament, we've got about 38%, nearly 40% of the European Parliament. We need to use that force in pushing the European Parliament into doing things which are more in tune with the people want to see. And that would be basically more growth, more jobs. And ultimately, yes, there are issues of reform, and we would welcome the reform. The difference between us and the UK, I suppose, is they want to be out. We think that's a disaster for Britain. We want to be within, and from work within to do the reform.
All right, Timothy Kirkhope, you've been here for 15 years. There's a lot of talk there's been a lot of talk in this election about, you know, it's new now. Is it new? Are we going to see something different?
I think we have to, actually. I mean, a quarter of the Parliament, for a start, is different. It's new. Different people are here, and undoubtedly there is more factionalism in terms of who was elected. There was a form of protest vote throughout Europe, actually, in different countries. So we do have a number of interesting parties. All I would say is that, from my point of view in Britain, I do think that the Conservatives, as they said in the election, have got a reform agenda. We will look for reform and renegotiation, and I think that we're the only party that has offered the British people with absolute certainty, if we are re-elected in the general election, a referendum on Europe. Now, that is a package which, despite the fact that we were disappointed with our result, I think, in the European elections, nevertheless, it is still a message which I think we should emphasise, and I and my colleagues here are very much reform orientated, as we have been for the last, well, for my case, for the last 15 years.
All right, Jim Carver then, are you going to be active in the European Parliament? Are your colleagues, your UKIP colleagues, going to take an active role in the 5 years we have ahead?
Yes, we are. We're speaking up for the 4.5 million people who voted for us, and we're taking forward that message. You know, we are going to be the standard for those people who believe for that better future of Britain.
And what does that involve? Does that mean taking part in committees, for example?
So, yes,
taking part in the hard work, the hard graft?
Of course,
yeah.
And
it'll be a change.
Well, Timothy, you say it'll be a change, but if you look at the previous, you know, records from MEP ranking, you know, everybody has to acknowledge that John Bufton, William Dartmouth was some of our highest performing MEP, not just UKIP, but British MEP.
Absolutely, but going into this campaign, some of your colleagues have been saying, we're going to be in Brussels as little as possible. Others, perhaps like yourself, are saying we're going to be taking an active role. Which is it?
What you have to understand, Georg, is that we do not have the parliamentary representation that Afzal's party and Timothy's party have at the moment. I'm sure that's going to change after the next general election. I'm positive that, you know, because of the feedback we're getting on the streets and the way we are engaging with people, not just from any particular background. Not only are we engaging with former Conservatives, Afzal will acknowledge we're picking up a lot of support from disillusioned Labour, but what I find very exciting is that we're picking up support from 20% of the electorate who haven't voted in the two previous general elections. So we've got this Heineken effect. We're reaching the people that other parties can't reach, and that's what's so very, very exciting about UKIP's message.
Afzal Khan, UKIP have some magic there. They're able to reach voters that you can't reach, but also they're taking from your core, it seems.
Look, the bottom line is, I think we did well, but we need to do more. We've got another election coming, which is the most important election for Britain. That is the 2015. I think we will see then how well they do as well. The work here, I think the difficulty we have is, if you look at their history, they're the worst performing party in the European Union. Looking ahead, we'll see what they're going to do. I don't believe they're going to do much.
All right then, Timothy Kirkhope, you know, you've heard from Jim Carver that they are planning to take an active role.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, obviously, you know, everybody can change their approach, and if this is the new approach that they're going to take part in the committees, I obviously welcome that, because committees are very important here in debating and trying to sort of refine and improve the legislative process that we're in Brussels. Fine. I mean, you know, I welcome that, actually.
Should Labour and also the centre-right, the other centre-right group here in Europe have given UKIP a chance to be represented in those powerful committee chair positions?
I think they have been given chance. The question really
course
is,
they
the
have.
difficulty they have is, their agenda is to wreck everything up, whereas what we need to be seeing here is working together to come to the solutions. People elect them to provide solutions, not to come here, get their wages and then wreck things up.
All right, Jim, is that
That's
your
what I-
aim, to wreck things?
Our aim is for Britain's amicable withdrawal from the European Union. You know, we believe in a Europe of 28 independent nation states. You know, sovereignty is an old-fashioned word. Sovereignty is an important word. We have seen the EPP, Audi, the Liberal Democrat
the
group,
centre-right, the
centre-left, and the
centre-left.
Socialists and Democrats come together and actually marginalise the people who have voted for the parties. And let's just remind you here, this isn't just a UKIP group. We have a group of over 40 people in it from 7 different nationalities, and this isn't just some British idea that people are opposed to European Union.
Okay,
You know,
all
this is
right.
happening.
This is the
but-
situation we're now in then. This is these positions have now been set. So the question now, and we're running out of time, is how are you going to use the powers, the influence, the seats that you do have? And that applies to all of you. You know, the legislation that's ahead, where are you going to be focusing your energy, each in turn? Timothy Kirkhope.
Well, we're going to focus our energy, as I said earlier, on reform and on change. And we're going to look to the committees to do that work, but we're also going to be looking to the new commission when it comes in to make sure that it is made up of people of that mind. We're not happy about Mr. Juncker, but now he is obviously getting the job. We're going to cooperate with him as long as he pursues those particular policies of reform as well. That's what we're going to do.
All right, Afzal Khan, your
From my
policies
party's
ahead.
perspective, our key agenda has to be is the growth, the jobs, the investment, and the second is the reform, so that the EU actually works for the people of Britain.
Okay, all right, lastly to you.
I believe that what we have seen so far with this parliamentary session is that reform is not an option. The Prime Minister has been completely outmanoeuvred on the issue of Herr Juncker. It's quite clear that the sign up at the front door is business as usual. The federalist agenda carries on, and UKIP will be speaking for those people.
We'll sort that.
All right, well,
Don't hold your breath.
all the hard work now lies ahead. All the legislation, all the new laws will be decided when things properly get underway in the autumn. But thanks very much to the three of you for joining me. Thanks.
Champagne, the height of sophistication, the drink most of us aspire to. Fine cheese like Parmesan and West Country farmhouse cheddar. And Spanish specialty Serrano ham. What these delicacies have in common is they each have the mark of European geographical protected status. It means that only the real thing, made to a specific recipe and in the designated area, can bear the name. Now the European Commission has launched a consultation on whether non-food specialities should be able to be branded in the same way. Could that open the door for the likes of Harris Tweed, Nottingham Lace or the Sussex Trug?
To apply the same thing to, for example, Harris Tweed or Cashmere from the Borders or Edinburgh Crystal, I think that is a really good idea to look into. I think that geographical products and their area and the craftsmanship and the expertise that goes in to produce these products are exceedingly important to local areas and local economies. So I think the consultation is welcomed.
Well, we've had a great experience with the protection for food products with the Melton Mowbray pork pie. And so let's see if it works also to give a boost to the local industries in the East Midlands, like Nottingham Lace Makers, by giving special status to Nottingham Lace.
It has the potential to become the first full-chain power-generating CCS operation in Europe and one of the first in the world.
Carbon capture and storage technology will be installed in Yorkshire. The EU has agreed to provide £230 million towards the White Rose project. The idea, similar to this one in Spain, is to take carbon dioxide produced at Drax Power Station and the surrounding industry and pump it under the North Sea. It's estimated 4,000 jobs will be created in Yorkshire, and if successful, it will prevent CO2 polluting the atmosphere.
We were known as the King Coal region. We had a lot of power plants and energy, so this project will help us to clean up our own environment.
The cost of using your mobile phone abroad has been cut ahead of the summer holidays. Making a call in another European country is now 19 pence, and text messages cost 6 pence. Using email and the internet has been cut in half to about 20 pence per megabyte. The EU has been forcing down the prices because it believes mobile operators are being too greedy. The new Green MEP Molly Scott-Cato says the next step will be to abolish so-called roaming charges altogether.
People actually rely so much on their mobiles now that they can't actually change their lifestyle just because they've gone abroad to work or on holiday. So hopefully we will see the beginnings now of a continuous reduction in roaming charges until they reach zero, so that you're paying the same in all countries of the EU.
Well, that's all from this edition of Europe and You. We'll be back in the autumn with more UK stories from the European Parliament. In the meanwhile, do follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can also watch interviews from your MEPs on our website and via our app. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.